Now, you either can sweat out the 2 days you have before the hanging, or you can join an outfit that I'm putting together. If you do that, I'll have you out of here in less than 24 hours. But you'll be worked to death, and there's not a beating you won't take. And then when I'm satisfied with you, you'll go in just where the Army tells you. Chances are you get killed anyway.
Hello there. I hope you guys are all having a great day today. That was a scene from the classic 1967 war movie, The Dirty Dozen, which ties into today's topic on starting or perhaps rebooting your fantasy RPG campaign. This kind of cropped up recently in my Birthright campaign. The group had just come back from Greg Gillespie's excellent Barrow Maze mega dungeon, and it had taken a toll on them. One PC essentially retired, and 2 were killed outright. So this necessitated a sort of reboot, where roughly half the party was new, and the rest were more or less established. My wife's character was the one that retired, as her PC was actually pregnant, and she didn't want to endanger a future character. Good thinking. She became a mid-level cleric of the god of war, Koreakin. So I was stuck with the dilemma of introducing 3 separate characters to an established group. Now, as we all know, there are a few tried and true methods to getting a group together. Obviously, the meeting at the tavern or inn is so tried and true it's practically become a trope. I wanted to avoid that if at all possible. Not that I am entirely against it. There's nothing wrong with using it every once in a while, but I also think you should try to think of other options before resorting to it. What I wanted to do was to get the new PCs into a group of their own, kind of simplifying the connection with the surviving party members. Instead of introducing 4 separate entities, you then only have to do 2 instead. But how to do that? And well, I actually took a little inspiration from the Dirty Dozen in this case. All the parties involved were in the large cosmopolitan capital city in my world, the Imperial City of Anyer. I told my wife that she would be doing something special in the introduction session, and then I met with the other 2 players. I asked if they would be amenable to having their players start out in prison, in the city jails. And in this case, I didn't want them to be hardened criminals, so maybe they just got picked up for vagrancy or a similar minor offense. And both of them, fortunately, enthusiastically agreed. So I think you can see where this is headed. My wife's character, Sister Brenna, was tasked with investigating and re-sanctifying a temple just discovered on a tropical island. Now, unfortunately, the church's warriors and priests are spread far and wide, so they have to be creative in some situations like this. The archprelate told Sister Brenna that they actually have an agreement with the crown, where they can comb the jails for criminals of minor offense to work off their sentences for the church. And so, just like that, she was off to find a few good, or maybe bad, or maybe gray, men or women. And this set up a fairly straightforward scene where, obviously, she chose the 2 new PCs who now have a tie to her. And here's where you can also put in, perhaps, an NPC, maybe even an NPC mole into the party as well. I had them then meet the other group of survivors from Barrow Maze in a fairly standard manner, a caravan attack, shedding blood for each other, and voila, they are instant compatriots. So the stage was set. And I have to say, I really liked the way that this turned out. One of the criminal PCs was a monk who was already kind of a stranger in a strange land and was probably looking for some guidance and perhaps a friend, which he found in Sister Brenna. The other was cooperative and did his sentence, but he was slightly distrustful. He was a hedge wizard who only seemed to want to serve his sentence and desperately get his freedom back. You can watch all this, by the way, in live play. It's our first live play that we released. It's a little imperfect. The sound is spotty at best at times. We've rectified that. I've gotten microphones for everybody, so hopefully you should more or less be able to hear everybody else in the future when we do live plays. Now, a few caveats. First of all, this probably is a tactic you can use only once in a while as a DM. It'll feel a bit awkward if you start every campaign like this. Also, the player doing the choosing of the criminals should probably be a pretty level-headed one. You don't want people who are going to insufferably lord it over the PCs, which will just cause a bunch of headache in and out of the game. You want someone who can essentially play a character like Major Reisman, Lee Marvin's character in The Dirty Dozen, who was stern, but ultimately pretty fair. And the exact terms of the agreement can be up to you, of course. When I did it, I deemed that the church vouching that the criminals had fulfilled their sentence was enough. They were free. Maybe in your world, it can be a bit more detailed or complicated. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a church either. It can be the government itself. Perhaps the PCs committed a much more serious crime, but they have a certain skill that's needed to do a particular job. This would fit right in if you have a rogue who got pinched in their last caper and is now set to lose their freedom, their hand, or perhaps even their head. Hey, maybe the person they robbed or wronged has found out that they're getting out of jail and they are seriously pissed off about it. That could throw some pretty juicy complications in. It's also a good way to build in a little character drama down the line. Maybe the rest of the party doesn't know why the new guy was in prison. Did he kill a friend? Did he maybe take the rap for someone else?
I didn't kill my wife! I don't care!
Lots of possibilities you can explore with this one. I also encourage you to watch The Dirty Dozen if you haven't seen it. And, maybe after seeing it, it'll inspire you to work this tactic into your game in the future. I think a mature group could handle it very well, and it could lead to some really interesting choices. That is all for today, but before I go, did you know that if you were a channel member for just $2.99 a month, you could have seen this video before the general public? That's right. So if you want to support the channel, just click that little join button, and you'll have access to things like custom emojis, early access videos, exclusive videos, and in the future, perhaps some member-only live streams when we get enough folks. If you can't or would prefer not to, hey, that is okay too. Your likes, your subscription, sharing your thoughts on videos like these in the comments below are just as good. And speaking of that, have any of you tried this method? I got a feeling some of you guys have. Let me know how it went in the comments. And I try to read almost every comment that's written. So I look forward to hearing from you, and I hope you guys take care and have a great rest of your day. Goodbye.
What qualifies you to be a U.S. Senator? You have 60 seconds.
Hi, good night, everybody.